July of 2011, The Guardian reported that thousands of voicemails had been hacked by the people at News Corporation. Robert J., the police officer in charge of the case, reported that a total of 690 audio tapes were seized from Mr. Mulcair's office, along with records of 586 recordings of voicemail messages intended for 64 different people. The notebooks listed a total of 5,795 names of people who could be potential victims of phone hacking. Hacking started early in 2001 and came to light when it was found that News of the World had illegally hacked into the phone of a murdered teenage girl, Millie Dowler, in 2002, while she was missing but her body had been found.
This is disgusting, disgraceful. There are no words to describe how awful this was, how awful it is to the parents.
Accusations that even deleted some voicemail messages on the phone in the first days after she vanished, offering her parents false hope that she was still alive. In the Commons, Labour MP Tom Watson condemned it as a despicable and evil act.
This was a heinous invasion into the Dowler family's privacy at a time of ultimate grief and fear for their daughter. It moves phone hacking into a new league. It's now a very serious criminal matter.
In 2007, Clive Goodman, a reporter at News of the World, hacked the voicemails of some of the royal family. The hacking has since spread to 46 other confirmed victims, including the former deputy leader of the Labour Party, Lord Prescott, J.K. Rowling, Sienna Miller, and 42 other celebrities and other public figures, including Hugh Grant.
We're talking about very nasty people here. First thing is some resignations, then I hope some arrests, then a public inquiry into the methods not only of the News of the World but of the entire tabloid press in this country, who have for various reasons lived largely above the law and unregulated for way too long.
The chief reporter at News of the World had documents in his possession that showed he was involved in phone hacking, and the New York Times revealed that the police had been covering things up since 2007 about what News Corp had done.
And I started compiling my own dossier, fully realizing that one day I might have to produce it. Now, if Mr. Murdoch, James Murdoch, if he'd been aware of my dossier, if he'd been aware of what I was volunteering over 2 years to the News of the World, he would have been far more prepared to face this crisis.
Once what News of the World had done came to light, everything spiraled downwards for them. Dozens of people were fired, and in some cases hacked after firing, if you can believe former Daily Star reporter Richard Pepiot. News of the World ended up closing at the insistence of James Murdoch, Rupert Murdoch's son and current CEO of the company. 16 people were arrested in the phone hacking inquiry, including Andy Coulson, the former editor of the News of the World, and the former chief spokesman for Prime Minister David Cameron. And then more information came to the surface, and the hacking was no longer limited to News of the World. 2 other tabloids, the Murdoch-owned Sun and the Daily Mirror, owned by the Trinity Mirror Group, had also illegally intercepted people's voicemail messages, employing the same private investigator as the News of the World. The court cases ensued.
It is a huge focus for the business, and has been for the last year, to get to the bottom of this issue, definitely, to cooperate with the police with respect to their criminal investigations, and this committee, as well as the judicial inquiry into the press, politicians, police that is underway.
On November 23rd, James Murdoch announced that he had quit as the director of the company.
James Murdoch has stepped down from the boards of News Corporation's British newspapers. The move is seen as a way of distancing Mr Murdoch from the lawsuits filed in London against the defunct News of the World. Senior staff at the newspaper have contradicted Mr Murdoch's claims that he knew nothing about the practice of phone hacking.
Rumours swirled that he planned to sever all connections with the newspaper groups, and as of today, the court cases are still going on. Nothing has yet to be finalized. This is ethically wrong on nearly all levels. Once upon a time, hacking was celebrated on nearly all levels. That's how Facebook was started. After all, with a hacking game.
Magic is all that's necessary to download the entire Kirkland Facebook. It's stuff. Next is Elliot. They're also open, but with no indexes on Apache. I can run an empty search and it returns all the images in the database in a single page. And I can save the page and Mozilla will save all the images for me. Excellent. Moving right along.
According to Peter Kraft, author of Terror in Play, or What Was Hacktivism, pop culture no longer celebrates hacking as the generally innocuous, but occasionally very profitable pursuits of the computer hobbyist. And he's right. What News of the World did is almost universally frowned upon as invasion of privacy, and nobody may frown upon it more than the Society of Professional Journalists. When News of the World did broke multiple parts of their code, including avoid undercover or other surreptitious methods of gathering information except when traditional open methods will not yield information vital to the public. Use of such methods should be explained as part of the story. Recognize that private people have a greater right to control information about themselves than do public officials and others who seek power, influence, or attention. Only an overriding public need can justify intrusion into anyone's privacy. Remain free of associations and activities that may compromise integrity or damage credibility. The Guardian did what the SPJs say it's supposed to do: expose unethical practices of journalists and the news media. It seems that News Corp doesn't understand ethics or privacy at all. So what? Hacking into celebrity phones is to be expected, right? I mean, they're celebrities after all. They've never had privacy. Even though what they did with Millie Dowler was wrong, shouldn't celebrities expect it? It doesn't involve us. But invasion of privacy is something that everybody has to worry about, not just from journalists, but from our culture as a whole.
Just hours before it was set to expire, the controversial U.S. Patriot Act was given new life and will be extended for another 4 years.
Take, for example, the United States Patriot Act. The United States Patriot Act was passed into law shortly after the 9/11 terrorist attacks.
Access to him since his arrest. She says the Patriot Act stripped her son of his right to due process.
And we have no rights under the Patriot Act to even defend them, because the Patriot Act is superseding the Constitution.
Now, the Patriot Act took FISA and said, you know, those warrants that you obtained that you can't use information in criminal prosecutions. Now you not only may use that in criminal prosecutions, you must use it in criminal prosecutions.
The Patriot Act gives the authority to intercept wire, oral, and electronic communications relating to terrorism, authority to intercept wire, oral, and electronic communications relating to computer fraud and abuse offenses, seizure of voicemail messages pursuant to warrants. If the government is even suspicious you're doing something, that they can seize whatever you've been saying. Murdoch was an adamant supporter of the Bush administration, probably agreed with something like this, and thought the unethical perfectly justified. His journalists have become lapdogs in the sense that they too will use government principles for their own means and will minimize the harm something like the Patriot Act can do. Maybe you'll think you'll never be touched. Michael Cunningham probably thought the same thing. In 2008, a GPS was planted in his family vehicle. Police never received a court warrant showing probable cause that the driver was up to no good. The attorney stated the constitutional privacy rights of his family were violated by the month-long tracking.
As many as 50 other celebrities became victims of the same ring of hackers, and all of them, Jessica Alba, Scarlett Johansson, Christina Aguilera, all of them were women. That makes this crime not just an invasion of privacy, but a blatant act of misogyny as well.
Or perhaps you think that hacking isn't such a bad thing. But consider the Florida man who was charged with hacking into celebrity email accounts and stealing information and photos. He faces up to 121 years in prison for his crimes that he is accused of committing. The only real-time phone hacking is acceptable is in times of war, where we need to use unethical tactics to get back to ethical life. Besides that, it's hard to imagine an instance where invasion of privacy would be an acceptable solution, especially when it interferes with an ongoing investigation or is for cheap celebrity news. There'd have to be clear evidence in order to really do that. But the simple answer for 99% of journalists and all of the people that worked at News Corp, when it came to hacking,
Mr. Murdoch, you must be the first mafia boss in history who didn't know he was running a criminal enterprise.
Mr. Watson, please. I think that's inappropriate. Mr. Chairman.